Inclusivity and justice for all women demand a world where every woman and girl, regardless of her background, identity, or circumstances, has equal access to opportunities, resources, and lives free from discrimination, exclusion, and violence. We are the International Social Justice for Girls of the Salvation Army International Social Justice Commission, a collective of young women and girls referred to as girl advocates from across the globe, united in our commitment to challenge entrenched inequalities and transform the status quo. As we gather for the 70th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, we raise our voices with purpose and conviction to advocate for a more just, equitable, and inclusive future for all girls. Justice for women and girls is not just a goal, it is a calling. Rooted in faith, we believe that God hears the cries of his daughters and calls us to listen, learn, and act. Around the world, girls face injustice simply because of who they are. Yet through faith, community, and God's strength, many rise above what was meant to break them. Each story you're about to hear reflects both the pain of injustice and the power of faith, courage, and community. Today, we share the voices of 3 girls from the Netherlands, Canada, and Papua New Guinea who turned pain into purpose and courage into change. My name is Lorette, a girl advocate from Zimbabwe, and I will be your host. Our first story comes from the Netherlands and invites us to reflect on faith, calling, and leadership. Senna's journey reminds us that when God calls, human limitations should never silence that call.
Hello, ahoy, and dobry dzień. My name is Senna and I'm 17 years old. I'm a girls advocate representing the Netherlands, Czech, and Slovakia in the ISJG, and I'm currently studying journalism at the University of Applied Sciences in my home city. Social justice to me means having the same opportunities for all people, regardless of gender or skin color or education or income. A person is so much more than just their gender or just the color of their skin. Social justice means being seen for who you are as a person, with all your skills, your talents, and your identity. For quite some time now, I have strongly felt that my purpose in life really lies with leadership and ministry. And where I am from, both in church and family, this is really normal and well accepted. So when I told people there that I thought maybe this was what God was calling me to do, I was met with a lot of strengthening words and encouragement and support. It felt really nice, but when I told some friends from different churches the same thing, I was met with a lot of shame and criticism. I was told that women shouldn't preach nor lead, that that's a man thing to do. I was told I was going against God's own rules. But was I really? I was listening to his voice, right? But it made me doubt anyways. So I started to look into why the Salvation Army lets women preach and lead. And I quickly found some of Catherine Booth's sermons and written pieces. And in one of them, I found a quote that really stuck out to me. I will quote it. If she has the necessary gifts and feels herself called by the Spirit, there is not a single word in the book of God to restrain her, but many, very many, to urge and encourage her. That, along with the verse from Joel 2, verse 28, and your sons and daughters shall prophesy, told me all that I needed to know. Women are called to lead and preach just as much as men are. I found a lot of support at that time in both my church community and in my family. They encouraged me to not give up and always keep hope. If God wants you somewhere, they said, he'll get you there, one way or the other. Their strength and their trust in me really made me feel strong. Someone else who inspired me a lot was Catherine Booth, co-founder of the Salvation Army. She challenged societal norms in her whole life, whilst also staying loyal to God and her faith and helping women in her everyday life. I hope I can be like that in my activism and my everyday life.
Senna's story challenges us to consider how faith can empower women to step into leadership, even when voices around them say otherwise. Yet injustice does not always come from tradition alone. It can also appear in our schools, workplaces, and everyday interactions. Her story reminds us that faith can be a source of courage, even when the world questions your place. Our next voice comes from Canada. Bella's story is one of resilience. As a young girl, she faced bullying that tried to break her confidence and silence her voice. But through courage and self-belief, she found the strength to stand tall and reclaim her worth. Let's listen to Bella's voice.
When I think of social injustice, I would describe it as an equality issue that usually affects marginalized people and happens because of government, human rights problems, and especially hate. Social justice looks like people working together, all on different life journeys and experiences, for a single goal, through different means, to achieve a safer and more loving world. I have faced injustice for simply being a girl, through experiences at work and school. At work, I'm perceived as too small or feminine for the job, as I work in a male-dominated field, in carpentry and construction. At school, people have perceived me as weak or fragile, which has led me to get bullied and picked on through the majority of my middle school experience. I would say the main support system and people that have supported me is the Salvation Army through the churches and programs that give me a place and a home, and through friends that I made going into high school. My family has been a big support as well.
Bella's experience reminds us how deeply words, assumptions, and exclusion can shape young person's sense of worth. Across different countries and cultures, injustice can take different forms, but the desire for dignity and belonging remains the same. Our final story takes us to Papua New Guinea, where we hear Grace's journey of faith over tradition. In a culture where land ownership and decision-making are often reserved for men, Grace chose to stand firm in her faith, believing that God's calling is not limited by gender.
Hi, I'm Grace, a 22-year-old from Papua New Guinea. I'm currently in my fourth year pursuing Bachelor of Arts in Communications for Development Studies. Being the only girl in my family has shaped a lot of who I am. I am also a proud Salvationist, which means I am a member of the Salvation Army. Beyond my academic interests, I genuinely enjoy being there for others, especially those in need, and offering support whenever I can. To me, social justice means fairness and equal rights for everyone, especially in the way people are treated, respected, and given opportunities in society. Social injustice, on the other hand, is when that fairness doesn't exist. It is when people are left out or treated unfairly. One injustice I have faced as a woman relates to land ownership in Papua New Guinea. I come from the patrilineal society where land is customarily passed down through the male line, usually from father to son, and decisions about land are made by men. In most of Papua New Guinea's communities, including where I'm from, women cannot own land and are excluded from inheritance under customary rules. Even though about 97% of the land in Papua New Guinea is under customary ownership. In this patrilineal system, land rights stays with men and women often have very limited decision-making power or control over the land that their families have lived for generations. Because I am a woman, I did not receive land from my father's side of the family. The belief in our culture is that girls will marry and move to their husband's village, so there seems to be no reason for a woman to own land in her own rights. This made me realize how cultural norms can limit opportunities and security for women simply because of gender. At that time, what I felt most was being left out, even though I was allowed to do anything I wanted on my father's land. It was all because as a woman I wasn't given my own share, so I felt excluded from something that is really important in our culture. During that experience, the support, strength, and sense of community I found are from my late great grandfather on my mother's side, and especially my grandmother. On my mother's side, the land was shared equally among his children, and my grandmother was fully in charge of how that land was managed. When I told my grandmother that I wanted a land of my own, she didn't dismiss my feelings. Instead, she told me not to worry about land and said that I could choose any piece of land from my mother's land if I wanted to build my home. She explained that it was time to let go of some traditional practices that made women felt excluded, and that as a Christian, she believed that everyone should have equal rights because we are all created in the image of God. Her courageous choice by putting faith and fairness over tradition has inspired me to be bold and stand up for what I believe is right. The moment she said yes and supported me without any hesitation, I felt truly seen, heard, and valued. Her response put a smile on my face and lifted my spirit because she acknowledged my worth and supported my right to have a place of my own.
These stories are not shared simply to be heard, but to guide us toward action. Faith calls us not only to listen, but to respond. If you could speak directly to communities, churches, or leaders today, what is one action you want to take to create safer, more inclusive spaces for women and girls?
If I could speak to communities, leaders, and churches of today, I would ask them to reach out within schools and places that teens frequent, because I know many girls in my community that want support and want to reach out but don't know where to get it. I would also say create a more inclusive and intentional space for women and girls alike. Make sure to keep reassuring us and validating our experiences, making sure that women know and understand that they are not alone.
If I could speak directly to communities today, I would encourage families to start sharing land with their daughters as well as their sons. Not all girls or women want to leave their village after marriage. Some wish to stay and build home in their own community. Ensuring girls have access to land helps create a safer and more inclusive spaces where they can thrive and make choices for their own lives.
I would ask that every leader, whether it be a church or a community, that they look at the women and the girls in their community or church the same way that they look at boys and men. I would ask them to give every girl and every woman a chance to show their talents and their skills and to develop those, to be seen as a full person and not just their gender. I would ask of all leaders to be as rebellious as Catherine was, dare to question societal norms by including women in leadership roles or in fields that are right now mostly male-dominated. Be rebellious, not to cause unnecessary trouble or anything, but to bring equality in a place where women still suffer the opposite. Because a better world begins with the rebellion to look beyond human-made labels.
As we reflect on these voices, we are reminded that justice begins when we choose to see one another as God sees us. When women and girls are empowered, communities are strengthened, and God's light shines brighter for all. To those whose words, actions, or systems have caused harm, pause. Listen to the impact. Change begins with awareness. To every girl who has been made to feel invisible, your story matters. You belong. You are not alone. Justice begins when we choose inclusion.